Hello, grade 11s. I'm away for the first 3 days here this week, so I'm going to use these video lessons to get you started. Mrs. Davis will be filling in, so if you have any questions, you can ask her. We are starting right on page 1 today on sequences and series. Now, for those of you that struggle with the applied class, I think for the most part, a good majority of you are going to like this course a lot better. It's pretty much cut and dry. You have one way of doing it, and there's a lot less open-ended questions for it. So we start with sequences and series. So there's two types of sequences and series. The first type is arithmetic. So I go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. Okay? So that's what we consider a pattern, in which each value, each term, okay, so this is what we would consider term 1, this would be term 2, term 3, term 4, term 5. So each term I go from one to the next by adding a common difference. In this case, I'm adding 2 to each one to get to the next one. So if I want to find out what the common difference is, I just subtract 2 of the terms, one from the other. So if I go T3 minus T2 or T4 minus T3, I'm going to end up with the common difference in the term. So a sequence is just simply a pattern in which you go from one number to the next, in this case, adding a common difference. This is what we call an arithmetic sequence. We're also going to look at a geometric sequence. A geometric sequence works like this: 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32, and so on. In which term 1 is 2, term 2 is 4, term 3 is 8. The difference being, I am now not going up by a common difference, I'm going up by a common ratio, in which I multiply by the same number to get from one term to the next. So if I want to find out what the common ratio is, I take any of the terms and divide it by the previous term in order to get the common ratio. But we're not going to get to this for another day or two. So we're just only going to focus today on arithmetic sequences and series. Now, an arithmetic sequence is just simply this. An arithmetic series is the same pattern, except we're looking at the sums of each of the individual terms. Okay? So looking on page 1, they talk about a common difference in arithmetic sequence. So the common difference is, like I said, the difference to go from one term to the next. What do you add to it? The terms are of a general arithmetic sequence can be found by taking T2, which is equal to T1 plus D. But to find any term, and then we call this the general term, to find any term in an arithmetic sequence, I need to know two things. I need to know, first of all, what the number is that we started with. I need to know T1. And I also need to know what the common difference is to get the term. So, for example, if I wanted to know what the 51st term is in this sequence that I've done above, so I want to find T to the 51. I take the first term, I add it to 51 minus 1 times my common difference, which is 2. So the 51st term in this sequence is 50 times 2, which is 100. Added to 2, the 51st term is 102. So we call this the general term of the sequence. So when we did this with graphing, when I did y equals mx plus b, I had y equals mx plus b was my general term. And then I had to find an m and I had to find a b. In this case, I need to find T1 and D in order to specify what sequence I am talking about. Okay? So let's take a look at a question in which we're going to use this. Now, again, lots of times we go, oh, geez, we don't never use this. And, well, it's very similar to graphing, for one. So we will relate it to graphing. But the second thing is, here's a common example of a practical use for it. A construction company hires a plumber. This is on page 2. A construction company hires a plumber to install pipes in new homes. The plumber will be paid $65 for the first hour of work, $110 for the second hour of work, and $155 for the third hour of work, and so on. So state the first 3 terms of the sequence. Okay, so the first 3 terms, T1 is equal to 110. T2 is 155. Nope, I did that wrong. Start that again. T1 is 65, T2 is 110, T3 is 155. So like I said previous, how do I find out what the common difference is? I take one of the terms and subtract the previous term from it. So if I take T3 and I subtract T2, 155 subtract 110, my D value is 45.